Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Make sure to like and subscribe to the channel for more interesting stories like these. Now, let's get into today's story video. Am I crazy? Please accept my apologies in advance for what is sure to be a long piece. As a result, I'm at a loss for what to do since this is quite embarrassing for both myself and my husband. I am 34 years old and have been married to my husband, 30 years old, for almost 10 years, married for 6 years. For the most part, we've had a solid relationship. 3 children, 2 of whom have good careers, a home, wonderful automobiles, prestigious schools, and a stupid cat, which I loathe, to name a few possessions. Since we started dating, we haven't had much of a life to speak of. Seriously, it started off as a once-a-month occurrence. That was my explanation. He was nervous or didn't have as much experience, I reasoned. In the end, it got to the point where I'd find myself arguing with him about it, because I felt like we'd never done it in the first place. As a woman, I felt degraded or ashamed by having a conversation with him about it. As time went by, sack time increased to 2 to 3 times per month, and 4 times per month was pushing it. I knew he was a big fan of porn, so I figured that was the source of the issue. He was sleeping with someone else, in my perspective. If he wasn't with me, then who was he sleeping with? He was viewing transgender porn on his phone, which I found when I looked through his belongings. He pretended as though that was the only thing he was interested in. This, of course, perplexes me, but it also makes perfect sense to me at the same time. I gave him an ultimatum. Either he quit seeing porn, figure out what he wants, and focus on the marriage, or I'm out of his life. After realizing that nothing had changed, I filed for divorce. My husband took advantage of me by stating that I was planning to purposely traumatize our children by divorcing him because I was not receiving enough attention to my demands. As a result, I, of course, stayed. Never again did I complain about with a straight face. I saw that whenever he was alone at home, the adult toys were being changed about. This was around 6 months after I made the decision to stay. I started my research right away. It was my habit to take photos of them before I realized he'd be alone at home, then go back and look at them after he'd left. They'd be harmed as a result. So I discovered which one he was using on himself. It's the biggest one that suctions to the wall like a wall and moves by itself, and moved it to the other side of the drawer. The next time he comes home alone, it will have been moved back to its original spot again. In my perspective, he isn't fully on the straight and narrow. While I understand why he's doing it, I'd prefer it if he was open and honest with me about it. His mother promised over and over that she would reject him if he came out as gay, which I think is why he never came out publicly about his orientation. Even though I'm well aware that this is where the man's G-spot is located, I get the idea he preferred do that than have with me. I'm in a pickle right now. However, I'm tired of feeling undesired and hated on a regular basis. Not to mention that he never remembered my birthdays, Valentine's Day, Mother's Day, or even gave me Christmas gifts when they were due. We seldom dispute, except when I express dissatisfaction with the way my needs are being met, or when he fails to acknowledge my presence on 4 days of the year. After 10 years of this, I'm starting to feel fatigued and disheartened about my situation. Every time I try to leave, he makes me feel like the worst person on the face of the planet. Story 2. Wife of 7 years cheated. Now, she wants out of the marriage. We've been together for 9 years. We have 4 young children and have just moved into a new property. She is a stay-at-home mother, while I am a full-time working parent. I was aware of her attraction to the husband of her closest friend, but I mistakenly felt it was a harmless fling. They started talking about having an emotional affair in the late November/early December period, but kept it a secret. It became more physical in January. In early January, I noticed that she was being distant, and I approached her about it. In her words, she was unsure if she still loved me or whether she wanted to remain in the marriage at this point. I accused her of having an affair, which she categorically denied and seemed to be horrified at the suggestion. She said that all she needed was some alone time away from me and the kids to get her thoughts together. Consequently, I took over all of her responsibilities in the evenings while she went out to clear her mind, see him. I tried all I could to save our marriage, but I was also apprehensive. She had her phone in her hand at all times. She didn't seem to be paying attention to anything I was saying or doing. Then she admitted that she had made a grammatical error and that she was just perplexed. She expressed her affection for me and expressed a desire to be with our family. I was giddy with excitement. It was necessary for me to continue to put in extra work around the house and with the children. I continued to give her plenty of space. that just blew up one night in the middle of the night. She didn't even bother to look at me. I was never recognized or acknowledged for whatever I did. She was always on the phone with someone. I told her I thought she was still feeling the same way and gave her a fib to help her feel less horrible about herself. She was deafeningly quiet during the conversation. She confessed that she still did love me and that she didn't know what she wanted to do the next night when we went out together. I was a shambles. She slept in another room as I sobbed and read articles about what was going on. I was still dubious, but every time I brought it up, she behaved as though I was pushing her away even more. The date was 1/30. I phoned in ill to work because I wasn't emotionally prepared to deal with the weekend turmoil. She was kind to me and made it seem as though we could rebuild. She informed me that she would be heading to the gym with her closest buddy. Her closest buddy arrived about 30 minutes later with a treat for her. My wife had canceled on her and informed her that she was ill. We both knew right away. It took all day to piece together the past 2 months, and they both denied everything until we obtained the phone records. They didn't get home till late that evening. Revealed everything to me. She apologized half-heartedly and said she didn't know what to do from here, but we could try to figure it out. I requested to see her phone the following morning and she agreed, but she neglected to log off of WhatsApp. I saw they were texting I love yous as soon as they awoke. I blew it. I'd gone through so much up and down. She snatched the phone from my grasp before I could read it all, and we fought over it. I flung her on the bed, but she wouldn't let go, and finally she pulled it from my grip. I backed off. I had reached rock bottom. I went to my pastor and spoke with him. My wife returned home a few hours later and said that he had really stopped it with her. This time, she apologized really, with tears and feelings. We both sobbed, and I told her I needed to get this out of my system. She said that she didn't know whether it could be repaired. She's done much harm. We had been together constantly for 2 days. I had the impression that we were reuniting. We couldn't sleep or eat, so we went to our physicians to acquire antidepressants and anti-anxiety medication. Last Thursday, I returned to work. She asked if I wanted to kiss her. When I departed, she responded, "I love you too." I had optimism since she was still an emotional disaster. She committed to notify me if any contact was made. She was the same when I came home. She was cheerful and effervescent. I knew she contacted me. She flatly rejected it. She sobbed uncontrollably, declaring, "I'll never trust her." I didn't sleep because I was aware that something was wrong. On Friday, I contacted his wife, who verified that he was behaving strangely as well. I investigated his phone records and discovered that he had a new phone number. They chatted all day Thursday and Friday. I blocked his phone, but I'm sorry I played my hand. She began to push me away. She believes they were seeking closure since the episode ended suddenly. She agreed to enable location sharing and allow me to check her phone whenever I asked. But she has been pleading with me to let her leave since Friday. She's been nothing short of vile. I'm bringing up everything I've done wrong in our relationship. I know I wasn't perfect, neither was she at first, but the past 4 years have been fantastic for me. I know what you're thinking. Cut and run. However, this is my second marriage. My first wife cheated and is now married to the guy who cheated on her. Divorce with children is difficult. I only see my daughter from my previous marriage about half of the time. I now have a stepdaughter whom I raised, as well as 2 small children. I wish I could see them every day, and I still love my wife, and I feel that this is something from which we can both learn and develop. I believe her departure is a response to having to own her faults. She has nowhere to go and no place to work. It will wreak havoc on our children. I realize it's taken a long time to get here, but have any of you been cheated on and then sought to gain your spouse's love back to prevent them from leaving, despite the fact that it should be the opposite? Thank you for your time.